Okay, so for the first time, I visited Marea in 2004, if I remember well, at the invitation of the late Hanna Szymańska, then the head of the Polish mission working there. This and the next few stays gave me the opportunity to learn in depth about the context of excavations, then carried out in the baths, in the chapel in the southern necropolis, and of course in the great basilica. No, that's sorry, I'm struggling with. Sorry, and in the Great Basilica, constituting a real landmark of the site. From these days of walking around the site, the idea was born to examine, even by methods, say, faster than traditional excavations, and document what was and is still visible on the surface. This first assumption seemed all the more correct as the existence of the site in the future was not, and still is, not at all obvious. The area is partly under the administration of the military, which in the past thought about erecting a large stadium on the site, and recently news about the construction of a complex of residential houses is circulating around the area more and more. It was Andrzej Kutiak who played the main role in documenting the relics visible on the surface. In the years 2018-2021, he created a map of the area covering the entire site far beyond the reach of the urban development. This map is included in the conference materials. From the very beginning, it was obvious to us that we have to confront the surface documentation with the aerial images of and the magnetic map of the site. Buying a satellite image of the area was not a problem, although its accuracy left much to be desired. Of course, a better photo of the area can be obtained with a drone, but everyone who knows Egyptian conditions knows well that introducing a drone to an archaeological site is very difficult, and in the case of sites under military administration, almost impossible. However, we continue our efforts. In 2018, the team of Krzysztof Misiewicz conducted geomagnetic research of an area of 23 hectares. The next year, we already knew that we should extend the scope of this research, which we only started to do last season, 2021, with Tomasz Derda, who in the past had already worked in Marea for a French mission exploring an islet, or depending on the water level, a peninsula to the east of the Great Basilica. We will continue this research in the coming years with the main goal to draw the network of irrigation canals and hydrological infrastructure in the immediate agricultural surroundings of the town. The analysis of data from non-invasive survey research indicated place for excavation. Our main goal was to identify various parts of the city development and to verify the arrangements for the urban plan. With each subsequent research season, it became more obvious that the city, still visible, the town, let's say, still visible on the surface, was created as a result of the implementation of one well thought out urban plan. Apart from the northern peninsula, we find nothing in the archaeological material that would indicate the existence of structures earlier than the 6th century. For this reason, we considered correct the hypothesis identifying of our site with Philoxenita, a city for pilgrims founded in the 2nd, 3rd decade of the 6th century. Earlier remains are related to the Lower Basilica, recently discovered under the Great Basilica, and include, apart from church, a poorly so far recognized complex of buildings in the immediate vicinity. We started our excavation activities carried out with surveys in 2018 in the immediate vicinity of Great Basilica. It's my cursor. Okay. So with this trial trenches, we continued in the following year in the atrium. So these are 2 places here. These works verified our hypothesis regarding the shape of the street grid, which at this point, due to the topography, bends a few degrees from the basic rectangular grid dominating in other parts of the town. In 2019, our excavation effort focused on the area between the Great Basilica and southern Baths. The baths were already excavated in the 1st decade of 21st century. Over an area of over 200 meters, there was a complex of buildings with a uniform modular character. In 2020, our work focused on the southern part of the site in the sector we called, this one, CH2, where we excavated a Byzantine house with a single nave church and a baptistery attached to it. Work in 2021 focused primarily on the sector N1, where we discovered another church that has already provided us, work on this site will continue in the next year, with remnants of the rich furnishings of this building. Another important element of the building program executed in Philoxenita was an artificial waterfront stretching along the entire shoreline adjacent to the dense urban development. The construction consisted of rows of limestone blocks joined by hydraulic mortar. In addition to the streets running along the waterfront, it also included at least 5 public latrines erected at the same time, so as a part of the same urban program. From this only cursory overview of our archaeological activity in the last 4 years, it is clear that the vast majority of the discovered structures date from the first half of the 6th century. So we excavate Philoxenita in its proper name, proper sense, a town for pilgrims founded in the 3rd or 4th decade of the 6th century. The archaeological material obtained so far shows that the town was inhabited until the 2nd half of the 8th century, and until the end of its existence, it retained its Christian character. It was abandoned not because of some violent event like warfare or a natural disaster like earthquake, but because of a natural transformation of the settlement in the region. residents living Philoxenite had a lot of time, years or even decades, which meant that, unfortunately for us archaeologists, they took everything that was valuable or even only in any way useful and that could be taken away. While the end of the town's existence is rather clear to us, its beginnings are more difficult to describe. Some settlements must have existed before Philoxenus, as we have an old basilica and the buildings around it. Was this settlement connected with the pilgrim movement, or was it founded in Zeno's time, or maybe even earlier? Another question is the relation between the Roman industrial center with its harbor infrastructure and the Byzantine city with its sophisticated urban planning and monumental buildings. Did the city develop gradually on the place of previous industrial activity with no discontinuity, or was there a hiatus even longer than 200 years, as can be inferred from the presence directly under the apse of the Great Basilica of a pottery kiln with the last fire dated to the beginning of the 3rd century AD. The size of the kiln, that is almost 9 meters in diameter, and the, so to say, breadth of the harbor infrastructure raises another question: where to locate the living quarters of the people employed at the production of amphorae in this kiln, as well as in other kilns preliminarily located on site, and the workers who loaded cargo on the ships moored at the imposing harbor piers. For the moment, these questions must remain unanswered, but the future is for us. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we are passing to the two key papers presenting the results. So first is Andrzej Kutiak, Topography of a Town as Seen by the Architectural Survey.